Hi everyone, welcome back to Membrain. Today our guest is Rómulo. Rómulo is a lecturer at the University of Ås in Norway and was actually my first mentor ever in a research lab when I was doing my undergraduate studies in biochemistry. And why did I want to talk with Rómulo today in this episode? Well, Rómulo had a significant influence on my decision to pursue an academic career and delve into the molecular biology world. Beyond that, his academic journey is incredibly inspiring, filled with challenges, fears, and doubts. Everything that we face when we have to make career choices. Rómulo and I always kept in touch, and he's still kind of my mentor in science. So let's get started with Rómulo. Hi, Rómulo. Thank you very much for being here.
Hi. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to hear those words. Nice, very nice words from you. And it was a pleasure always to talk to you. Whatever you want.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about since the first day we met each other, and we kept all in touch for all these years, and it was interesting because when we met, we never thought this was going to end up in a friendship. We never thought this was going to.
Maybe not, because when the first time I met you in the lab, I was like, "Who is this headstrong girl? I hope she doesn't come here. Who is going to deal with this hurricane, this person full of energy? Not me, for sure."
I
So it was
remember.
like,
I remember all of those
yeah.
words.
I've changed my
But
mind. So
good.
since then.
Good. Oh, Rómulo, so would you like to share a bit more about your background, your studies, and what made you start in this academic world, and what motivated you to stay in the
Oh,
academic world?
well, that's a rather complex question because it is full of, as you said, up and downs. So since I know myself, I've always been interested in biology, not specifically in anything, but biology for me. I've never seen, I never imagined myself doing anything else than biology. So when I went to Porto University to get my bachelor in biology, it was a very difficult experience for me because I don't think I had the maturity yet to undergo a bachelor, I think. And
I think that's
I
common.
was, yeah, I think it's very common. But then I don't think we had the information or the support. It was like 22, 3 years ago. So we didn't have the support to tell us that, okay, maybe your expectations are not fulfilled. Maybe it's not your fault. Maybe um, we can help you in another way. But I didn't get that. Although I was surrounded by friends that felt the same way, so we were supporting each other. And I finished my course. And when I finished my course, I say I hate biology. I don't like biology at
Okay.
all. I don't see myself doing anything that I've learned. And
Okay.
that was, and now what I'm going to do, right? And I thought I finished my course. The only silver lining that I had is like, oh, maybe I can work with um, with human reproduction. I was like, okay, maybe we can, yeah. Maybe
Okay,
it's a
interesting.
bit puzzling now that you know me, but
Yes.
and then I went to a professor at that time, and we had a meeting, and I said, "Oh, I'd like to work with this. I maybe do my master's or PhD or something like that." And he told me that I already picked at that time, at 21, and then maybe I'm not going to do anything in my life now, so I should give up. And he told me that, and that broke me actually. And
Wow.
I'd say, okay, so I
Amazing
was,
professor.
yeah. So I was like, okay. So for me, it was like a wake up call in the worst possible way. And I say, so I was a bit disappointed with my course. the whatever I learned in my course, and then I was faced with that situation and I gave up, and it was very depressing. So this is just the down, okay? Then now it's just up.
Okay.
Now and then I went to I left science. I left science. No, I left academia. Of course, I went to work with my father and in his company, doing nothing to do with biology, nothing. So I learned about economics. I learned about everything, and now and then my father said, "Is this what you want to do with your life?" And I said, "No, I don't." So I tried to understand what really I wanted to do, and I want to do genetics, and I want to do genetics, and
But why genetics? Because you were like a bit, how do I say, you had a kind of a trauma during your bachelor degree,
but
right?
I've never had. But my genetics was the only thing that I liked in university. The only thing that I
Hmm.
liked. It was very
Probably
short.
because of the lecture. No.
I don't know. I don't know if it was the lecture or the molecular part. I think it was the
Okay.
molecular part.
Okay.
I didn't know at that
Interesting.
point. I didn't make the connection that point at that time, but now I know for sure that it was the molecular part, the puzzling things, the puzzles, making puzzles,
Hmm.
and then I was very depressed, and then my girlfriend at the time was taking her PhD in another university, and I say no, you cannot stay at home. Let's go. And she enrolled me in a master's, and she physically enrolled me in a master's because I was very depressed at the time. And then after that, I really discovered my passion for biology in that master's, and then I just went to a lab. I was fortunate to go to a lab where there was an appetite for new things, for new experiments, for oh, I don't know, different ways of thinking. And then here I am.
You
In a
you started in the right lab with the people with the similar mindsets that you have. So like it was like the piece on the puzzle, right? Like, oh, I fit here. I feel that I
yeah,
belong here.
no, I felt welcomed in that. I felt welcome in that lab. The person was exceptional. I consider her an exceptional person that is able
It is.
to think in a way that sometimes still puzzles me in terms of her speed of thinking of I don't, and but and the work itself was so challenging that wake I don't know, make me again start to love again whatever I do now.
So you did your masters. I would say was it with Professor Manuela?
Mm-hmm. Manuel
Okay,
Costa,
then
yeah.
yes, we are talking about the same because it was also one of my professors on their undergrad and masters, and she's also like a kind of mentor for me. She's a very special person. So after your master, you enrolled in your PhD?
No, no,
No,
that my
okay.
pathway is not that like so I don't know. In Portugal we don't go normally
Well,
normally
nowadays,
nowadays it is, but in my time what happens is that normally people it was like pre-Bologna or in the
mhm,
transition to Bologna. So there were people that were immediately going from their bachelor to their PhDs. And so I had colleagues with 23, 24, 25 that already had finishing their PhDs, and I was not even close by. So I was like approaching my 30s, and I was like, oh God, I'm very late to this. But I always had support. So what happens is that when I finished my master's, she wanted me to stay in the lab, uh, but I didn't want to go to PhD directly because I felt that I'd still had the maturity enough to conduct a work like that uh, without having, well, to complete the work in a very good way. I think I can
okay.
put it like that. So
Why? Why?
I did like it's called, I don't know how to call it, like small contracts of work related to that or
Mhm.
whatever I was doing in the masters. So I was
Mhm.
like 2 years like this, working in the lab, like not a technician, but similar to a technician. And then she said, "No, no, now is the time for you to go to PhD." And I said, "Okay, let's go." And then I went
Okay.
to a PhD. It was amazing because whatever I learned in this 2 years of masters plus 2 years of contracts was perfect for me to enroll in my PhD. And the PhD for me was a sailing. I know everyone has problems with his PhD. I didn't have a single one, so I'm
No,
fortunate to do that.
you are a great example. Well, you are a great example, or I would say you are a great outlier
I think so.
because well, we met each other when you were doing your PhD, like around like the beginning, mid,
Hmm.
your second year, I would say, out of
Maybe first
four,
year.
and you finished everything on time. Like you did your final examination before the end of the 4 years, so
Yeah,
you were
that's
still
true.
having your research grant, which was very unusual, and you did a great job. You worked a lot. So maybe what you're saying that those 2 years you were working in a research in the lab doing some research with the research grants helped you developing
It
that
helps.
maturity.
Yes, it helps because I don't think the master is enough for you to. The master is a very interesting experience because it's almost your first contact with the lab, but you don't have the. I don't think you gain enough competence to go directly to a PhD. At least according to what I'm experienced myself. But I see also my students. They need some kind of experience outside, even to choose whatever you're going to do next. Because this is very important. Because the masters is important, but the PhD is almost pivotal to your career, right? So you need to be sure what you're going to choose in your PhD. That's what my problem was. Not just the techniques itself, because techniques I can learn, but whatever. So to find a cohesive pathway through my academic life was something I need to think about very well.
Is kind of is this what I want to do? Is the PhD what I want to do, or am I doing this PhD because just is it just an easy opportunity if
Yeah.
you are already in the academic world? And then I think when we make the decision in a more conscientious way, conscient,
Hmm.
in a more clear way, we know that we are, this is what we want, will help us with the ups and downs, mainly with the downs. We have to face the PhD. If we grab this opportunity of doing the PhD, just because it's okay. Someone told us, "Oh, we have this option. We have this position open. Do you want to do it?" And we just do it without thinking. Is this what we want? Maybe
I
it's going
think
to
it
be
is
harder.
a sign of the times. We are always forced to. It's also everything needs to be on a timing. So, and I was always hearing people saying, "Oh, you're going to lose the train. Oh, you lost the train,"
Hmm.
or and the pressure is so big in academia to publish, to go, to complete, to and well, that's not my experience. Um,
No.
but this came with some kind of um, support. I had the support of someone that told me you can go on your own rhythm, and I think this is very important um, because if you don't go to your own rhythm, you will fall, and then it will be harder to stand again. That's my opinion. But I was not forced to go to PhD. I thought, okay, I would like to learn more. I like to learn, so I like to know. I like to
Curiosity.
know. Yes, yes, I think it is curiosity, but I like to fit in pieces together. I like to yes. I feel very happy when pieces. So today, one of my students came to me and said, "Oh, I did a philo tree, a phylogenetic tree, and the pieces that we were thinking, the thing that we were thinking, okay, it fits together." I was happy. My day is done today. So so it's still like this. So I take lots of pleasure of completing, of knowing, of
Solving
filling the
problems.
gaps, filling
Fill
the
in the
gaps.
gaps. Yeah.
So that's what my PhD was. So I started in a project, a starting project, and it was my project after all. And so it was more a partnership between me and the project than something else.
You were
Then
in the project.
in a way that the project and I evolve together and not be being slave of the project. You know what I mean. So
Hmm.
sometimes PhD students are slaves of the tasks that people already have there, right, in the project. I had the liberty to not do that like that. So that it was very good for me. That's why I think I completed the thing in time, which is for me it was very my goal. I don't like to delay things. I know
And it's also
sometimes
good when you
they are
have
needed,
we
but
have you- I think it's, I believe it's also important when we have supervisors that support us finishing on time, so helping us managing our time, managing our tasks in order to be able to be more realistic
mhm.
and have work completed on time, because that pressure sometimes is in the other way around. This is not enough, you need to do more, this won't be good, and it's hard
I
to.
I've been in that lab for I've been in that lab for 10 years, or no, 12 years, and I've seen many things. So I've seen all the examples that you're talking about. Even
Yeah.
I think even with our supervisor, I like her very much, but sometimes there are other students that do not are not as proactive as I was, for example. And sometimes it's hard to deal with something like that. And she had troubles, and she has troubles dealing with people like that. Everyone has.
different pers- Different personalities,
So
right?
to deal with people is very complicated in lab. And yeah, I was lucky. I think I was lucky with my. I think my set of skills was very fitted very well with her set of skills, and so and this is very important to choose your PhD supervisor. And sometimes people don't have a choice and or don't have time to think about the things because there's this opportunity. Let's go, and you don't think well because it's 4 years or 3 years that you need to deal with that person on a daily basis. In my case, was daily basis. So
Hmm.
it is something you need to think about.
It is on a daily basis because even though you don't see them every day, if you don't feel comfortable, you are not going to work comfortable, and so and you are going to think about the situation every single day.
And
So
it is exactly like that because you know maybe I was normally we saw each other every day, but even if we didn't, and if I did something that I knew that was wrong or it was not going to work, I always heard their voice in my mind. Okay, I know exactly what you're going to do. Or you're going to say, "Shut up, please. I'll change the thing."
those devils
So,
here.
yeah. And she was one of my devils. Fortunately, she was one of my devils.
Yeah, because our devils are also important to keep us. Well, it depends. It has to be a balanced way. But our devils are important in our brain. They are important to keep us aware, more, paying more attention.
Balance
But
balances you.
yeah, it helps balancing. Yeah. But it's hard to deal with them when they take too much attention in our inner speech.
Yeah,
When they control it, it can go to
of
very
course. Yeah,
difficult
of course.
situations.
Of course, there were moments when I was pissed with her, and it's normal. Not with her, but with whatever she
The
was
situation or the
on my
reaction,
life.
right?
But that's the normal thing, I think. When and she was pissed with me,
Absolutely.
of course, with
Yeah,
many
it's
things.
part of it. And Romulo, um, so you did a PhD, you had a good
Mhm.
experience, so you didn't end up your PhD traumatized.
No.
And then you had like the feeling academia is my place, or
Mhm.
you were more like, maybe I should try something else. What did you feel at that time?
Well, to be honest, this is a bit this is a bit related with my almost Asperger. I bit Asperger syndrome. So what happens is that I don't like very much to leave my comfort zone, and this is a
Okay.
problem in academia.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my mind, I spin it in a way that, oh, maybe I'll stay in the same position, in the same place, but with a different project. Maybe this will be good for me because I think we need to grow. Now I know for sure. I might have been in denial at that time, but now I know that we need to change to grow. Um, and so I stay there for my first postdoc, and it was a nice experiment, a nice experience because I could complete many things that I left behind. But there was a moment that I was craving for something different, and then the reality in Portugal is not that very good for people that are starting their careers in terms of funding, or neither funding or positions in academia. There is no positions in academia, so at all, I think. So, or better, there are people waiting for positions in academia that are already 10, 20 or years in postdocs. They are waiting for their turn. So I was watching that. I was saying, I am not going to stay here. I'm not going to do this. And there was another way. I had a family. I needed structure. I needed security. That's why I changed my mind.
It was when you saw this position in Norway,
Mhm.
was it?
Mhm.
To become a lecturer, to
Mhm.
have your own research group, to start your own research group, basically, and being and teaching at the university, which is something that I think that you really like because you have this you do it well naturally. I remember we had a lot, you gave me a lot of classes when I was in my masters, and you
Mm.
can feel when someone is there because he really likes to be, it really the person really likes to be there and really likes to share and teach and discuss. So I also think that you have this in you. You like to teach.
Yeah, I like to
So
teach.
you saw this position, and how did you feel? Did you like, I'm going to apply, or you delayed it?
Well, when I so when to be so when I was applying, I was applying to many things, not applying to many things, but applying to certain things. I applied for Marie Curie in Barcelona. Um,
Hmm.
I'd applied to a position in Portugal for a researcher in Portugal, which was something very weird because we could. So we applied to a position with a project for 6 years, and then yeah, you get a salary for 6 years, but you don't get the money. So it could end up you having a salary without doing anything for 6 years. And but I applied anyway to that, and then I applied, and then I've seen this position here. So I was thinking, no, I'm not going to apply to postdocs like this normal postdocs that are everywhere. I needed to something more stable. And then I saw this position, a tenure track position, in which we can up with an associate professor. I would say, okay, with my background, I can start slowly. Maybe I can start, and then after 6 years, I can be an associate professor. And this is very, I think, to have the reward in the end is very good for us because it makes us work harder, or at least it shows that okay, there's a silver lining in the end. And so I applied. I applied. To be honest, I applied. I thought, okay, this is already for someone, or that's what we normally think in Portugal. This is already
Yes, imposter
for
syndrome as
someone.
well.
Yeah, this is for someone. I'm maybe not good enough. And okay, and then I'm here. So something must have gone in the right way.
You had the interviews and you were selected. And when
Mm.
you were selected, how was it? It was a mix of feelings, of excitement, of
It was a
hey,
mix of
someone is,
feelings because in
yeah, go
the
go.
moment I received my that I've got the position. I also got the result from the Portuguese research, and it was granted to me. So I was one of the three people that got it in that specific time. So I was like, what? So now I need to choose. So I stay in Portugal, or so I go to Norway to a different position or a different, complete different scenario. And that, so it was a mixed feelings because you have lots of things to decide. You have a family, so I need to think about that. And then my wife told me, no, go to Norway, go visit Norway and see what's happening there, see the environment, see if you liked it, and then we can decide. And then I came here in COVID time.
Amazing.
In COVID, yeah, COVID time, uh, and I've I've liked it. I like the people. I like the way they were. They received me, the way they were interested in me and interested in my skills, which is very nice. It's very nice to say, okay, we need you. We need your expertise. We need. I think we can work together. Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
Yeah,
And
it's amazing when people value your work, your effort, everything you have
I
been
think so. I think
doing,
so. I think it is very nice,
and gives
and
you, it motivates you
yeah,
to do
it motivates
better.
you. Yeah, it gives us a kind of feeling that okay, we are in the right place, we are on the right track to be. I don't know, something. Um, and I chose to come to Norway, and it was a hard decision. Of course, it was because I need to leave my family for a few months, um, and
To a
but
very different country with your family, with a new
different.
language.
I came alone, so the first 8 months I was here. No, not 8 months, 6 months. I've come without my kids or my wife or anyone, and it was hard. Of course, it was hard, and it was hard because the people were not the language itself, because normally here in Norway, if they see some, first
They
I
speak
look
English
like a
very well,
Norwegian.
right?
I look like a Norwegian.
It
So
looks like a Norwegian.
normally I'm not looking like a Portuguese. I'm not typical Portuguese. So normally what they normally speak to me in Norwegian, but my puzzled
Oh,
face was like, okay, is not understanding a word that I'm saying, and they immediately shift to English. So there is no real language barrier here in Norway, but people are different, and they yeah, everything is different from Portugal, I think. So
everything. Okay.
not everything, but most things are very in terms of social skills. The Norwegian social skills are not the Portuguese social skills. That's an
Mm,
understatement, maybe. So I need to get used to that. But we are in a university, so this is very international. So I have many colleagues from other nationalities
cultures.
and
Yeah.
cultures. So it's the I think the fall is not as big as we imagine.
And were you a bit worried when you decided to bring the rest of your family, so your wife and your kids, if they were going to adapt, if they were going to be happy, if you're,
Hmm.
did you feel responsible for
I still do.
anything that they don't like, or if they are not enjoying it?
We've
Um,
talked about this, Carolina. Yeah, we've talked about this. We would talk a bit when the first months that we were you were very friendly with me because you were you talked to me a lot, and and we've talked about this exactly because I had a choice. So when after 6 months, I would say, okay, Sarah is my wife. Maybe this is not for you because Sarah is that's a very Portuguese person. So she needs to socialize a lot. And I'll say, maybe that's not good for her. She will not fit in this environment. But then she wanted to try it. But the months that came after they arrived here, they were very hard, very, very hard because my kids didn't spoke. They don't speak English. So they would immediately went to a school. Well, my kid was in the first grade, and the other one went to kindergarten. So in the kindergarten there was no big problem, but in the school, so he's already like thrown to the lions. and I felt very responsible. Every time he cried, every time he said, "I'm not happy," it was like very hard for me. And sad at the same thing. Oh, how can they behave like this? Or I'm not used to this. Oh, the cold is starting. Oh no,
No
there's
sun.
oh no sun. Oh, everything, every complaint for me was like direct hit. So yeah, it takes a bit
Maybe
to
it was not for you directly, but it
it was
felt
never
like it was
it was
personal.
never for me it was never for me. And she and I was always like, okay, sorry. It was like, sorry. And then she said, okay, sorry. Why should I be sorry? It was our decision. Okay, it's a collective decision. So but I cannot get past the idea that I was the guilty one here. Maybe I should have done something else, but now it's easier.
Now they
Now
speak
it's a
the
bit
Norwegian, right?
Now they speak Norwegian with each other and they exclude their parents from their life. So,
That's okay. When they
so
when they want to have conversations,
of course,
private conversations, they
or talk about
know
their
which
parents.
lane.
Yeah. No, they play together in Norwegian. Everything is in Norwegian. My youngest kid does not. The Portuguese of my youngest kid is awful, awful.
It's
So
not
the Norwegian
awful.
is very good, but awful. I cannot understand a thing he says in Portuguese.
We have to understand that he has three languages to talk: Portuguese, Norwegian, and English. It's a
No,
lot. He will need his time.
I think he will forget. We talk Portuguese at home, but I think he will forget about Portuguese as soon as he can. He loves Norwegian, so I don't know.
And I believe that this process that you went through is actually very valuable for you and your family and for everyone. Is that okay? When we have to change or when we choose to change, there is a period of adaptation, and that period is hard because it's like we enter in a gray area, right? We don't
Hmm.
see, we don't know where we are, we don't know if we are doing it well, we don't know how it's going to be. And then we start just focusing on the negative aspects. But after a few, we just all we need is time. And after a determined period of time, we realize that we are able to adapt, and we start seeing the good things. Right? I like the work here. I'm doing. I feel very valuable. My kids are speaking properly. They are enjoying the country. So all we need is to be a bit more patient and believe and give it some
Hmm.
time. Just give time to see how you.
Yeah. Well, we cannot we cannot say that every case is going to work out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you are not really happy, and you should change. You shouldn't force yourself to do something that you're clearly unhappy. Okay, that's not the case for me. The case for me is that maybe in the work part I was somehow happy because for the first time, not for the first time, but at least I felt that I could build something new from scratch, something mine, and this is very positive. So I needed the other blocks to come together, and they slowly came together, but it took some time. And when you have this positive trajectory, when you have
Mhm.
this thing, yes, you should stick up even if things do not work out. But sometimes I have friends or people here that simply don't adapt. They don't adapt to the Norwegian culture. They don't like the Norwegian culture, or they don't like the environment of the university, or they don't like at all
Or
the
other cultures, or the changes, or
it doesn't,
uh,
and I don't think you should continue just
force
because,
yourself.
just, yeah, force yourself. So it's a personal it's a personal path that you need to go through, I think.
But you believe that it's important to give a chance.
Yes, always give a chance. I think my case in which I was very reluctant to change because I was so comfortable, and I had the opportunity to remain comfortable somehow, and
Hmm.
and I forced myself to change. It was a very nice experience for me. I learned a lot. I've had my downs, I have my ups, but the balancing things is very good for you to grow as an individual, I think, always. So I'm not regretting my choice. That's
And
bottom line.
and you are having the opportunity to do something that you love, right? Um, let's going back a bit for the academic world again, and mixing a bit the differences between Portugal and Norway.
Mhm.
Um, do you feel that it's easy for you to build a research group, to, for example, have money for your
Okay.
science? Because in
Mhm.
Portugal, you struggle with that. Everyone struggles with that.
Mhm.
Like you were saying, you got a
The
contract at
position.
a position that didn't give you any money for the research, so you had a salary, but
Mhm.
how about the money for the lab? How am I
No.
going to
Yeah,
do
you
my
couldn't.
puzzles?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the difference between Portugal and Norway was maybe 5 years ago. The difference was quite striking in terms of the way that they approach funding here in a different way. They are more applied, and that's not very good for me because I'll work with like basic research, and in basic research
Okay.
here the competition is fierce. But in Portugal, I always felt it that even if I was I saw cases of very distinguished professors with amazing projects that would say, no, there is no funding for you. And that was always if that guy with that curriculum, with that because I'm missing this information because when I applied 3 times to a project in Portugal, and the 3 times was like you don't have enough curriculum, you don't have experience in working with in managing projects. So how is it possible that I'm going to get uh, experience in managing projects if you don't give me a project? It's like mind
Uh,
blowing, right? But here,
so
for
the
example, in
feedback
Norway,
was
not the quality of
sorry.
the project itself, but mine as inexperienced. So
Okay.
if you don't give experience to the people that you're, I know the bottom ones, the one that are starting, how you can, I don't know. It's I don't know. I don't understand. But here, for example, we have to distinguish between projects, for example, for young researchers and older researchers. So you can compete within your own group. So you can compete with people that have the same amount of experience that you have. So it's not the candidate itself in terms of experience in managing projects, but it is the quality of the project itself. And so we have here an opportunity to really begin and grow. Okay, here in Norway,
Okay.
and that's a striking decision, a striking a striking difference from Portugal, I think. The rest, okay, funding is difficult. If you compete in Europe, in your ERCs, it's difficult. Of course, it is. But internally, there is some opportunities that if you want to do basic research, it's quite difficult. But there's a way to spinning this basic research into applied research for agriculture, and then it's easier. Then because the companies now here in Norway, there's a big I don't know, how can I say it, a big connection between the funding agencies and the companies. So the companies invest in the projects, not are not owners of the project, but they invest in the project because they are interested in knowing what the
If they have
finding,
something, can have
which
something
is
in return
of course an
to
amazing thing.
yeah.
And so we can apply. There are now there. I've been talking with, for example, with a seed company here in Norway, and they are very interested in going to molecular. So it's so we have
Okay.
opportunities here. Yeah. So because CRISPR or whatever it is that now is in fashion, they hear this CRISPR and their eyes open like, okay, we can do
Because
something
it
like.
won a Nobel Prize, right? So wow, this must be
No,
something
and it's
incredible.
quite revolutionary if you think so,
It
because then
is.
you
It
can,
is. I
instead of
know.
waiting 20 years or 25, we can, in terms of breeding, we can shorten this to 3 years or 4 years. So it's a lot of
It's
money, but we think about it's not just something very nice and very cute. It's something that is
so,
going to be useful.
but this reminds me of something that is
Mm.
Do you feel that a better the academic world could do a better marketing to improve this connection with other funders or investors or industries, and we could work together in a much more efficient way? Do you feel
Yeah.
that's something that we don't do that well?
Well, I feel that while was the time in Portugal, I never heard of a company approaching. In my 12 years, I never heard of a company approaching us for anything. So for me, that was not a reality. I didn't know that existed at all in
Hmm.
terms of
Hmm.
in terms of my discipline. Okay, but
But that's not
but I think
necessarily
it is very important.
of an industry. This is not. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, no, no.
I was trying to say that this is not necessarily fall. The fault is not necessarily from the side of industry. So
No,
the
no,
industry
no.
is the guilty one. This is a combination of factors, also from the academic world. I actually feel that huge difference now. When I started my PhD in England, in Aston,
Hmm.
with my supervisors, and my PhD was in partnership with an industry, and my supervisors, they are very keen with industrial collaborations, and a lot of their
Hmm.
projects, the projects that they write, are with industrial collaborations.
Yeah,
So
like here.
the mindset is a bit different, but I don't know where the academic world in Portugal, for example, is missing this. Why?
I think they are changing now because I think because of the funding agency itself because I think 20 years ago or 10 years ago, you could write a proposal of basic research just by the fun of itself, like to find something curious
And interesting. This
um,
is really
and
interesting.
interesting. This will be very interesting and it will advance knowledge somehow, but with no application inside.
Yeah, it's not going to give anything to industry.
I think that's my bitch. That's what I like to do. But I
Mm-hmm.
now feel that this is not selling anymore
Mm-hmm.
because the money is limited and we need to apply to something. And the companies need to understand what we do, our competence, our skills, and so we need to sell ourselves better in that sense. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
there's a platform in Portugal to do that. Here in Norway, we have lots of platforms to do that. The companies are constantly talking with us and trying to find ways to collaborate because they know our value. In Portugal, I don't know. I think it's very primitive.
I still believe that there is a gap between the academic world and the industrial world. Even
Mm,
here, although my supervisors are incredible and they have amazing projects with different industrial partners, which I believe they are working very well. But I still believe there is a gap, and there's things to solve and to improve. For example, one of the main issues I would say that the fact that our experience take a lot of time, and sometimes we say, oh, we think that in 1 month we can do it, but we cannot do it in 1 month
mhm,
because the experiment is not working, the strategy is not working, because the equipment is not working. And then, for example, the equipment is not working, we cannot do the experiment, we
mhm,
need to wait for a technician or a responsible for the equipment to come and fix. So we depend on a third party. So we don't know, we would say, oh, what we think that we can start doing now, we will just be able to start in 3 months. And for industry, that's it is not easy because they have to the CEOs have to explain the investors or whatever, like, I will just have this data in six
to be
months
honest, to be honest, Carolina, we need. I think we there's a big distinction between the research that we do in the companies, in the research we do in academia, and we should protect. I think there is a shift in the way that people want to do the academic or academia more close to what happens in companies to be more driven to product itself. Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to protect a bit about our core knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and to still value the idea that maybe we need to to go on in a rhythm that is not comparable to the company rhythm, for example, because there, I think the goals are different. I think there are ways to bridge this and to find common goals and common, and because academia fuels somehow with knowledge this partnership, but I don't think we should be hostages of the companies in a way that we are driven by, okay, we need to develop this as soon as possible, or don't go there, go here because here is more profitable. uh, I have a strong opinion about this in terms of we need to protect a bit about the academia from this. I not I don't have anything against
It's
companies. I like companies, but this greed of do you understand what I'm saying?
a
The
balance. Okay, we have a
I
part
think
of
we need to find a
academic.
balance. We'll never have academia and the private sector working together side by side in terms of complete overlap.
No,
It's
because
impossible.
you also have to find the new discoveries. So, for
Of
example,
course, it's
now
not
everyone
driven
works
by
with DNA and knows that manipulating DNA can
yeah.
optimize a lot of crops or a
Mhm.
lot of industrial purposes. But at some point, someone had to discover the DNA. What is the DNA? The
Yeah,
structure
of
of
course,
DNA, how DNA works.
the
So
core
it's a
knowledge.
combination. It's
Yeah,
a
they need to
combination.
protect the, and I think the funding now it's very hard for us to work with core knowledge. Okay,
We
because
just focus
the
on
funding.
the
How can you say
product.
it's like how our parents ask us, "What do you do?" Right? I don't know if your parents did that, but
Yes,
mine did
it's
that
so hard.
frequently. And what do you do? I work with transcription factors that bind DNA, and I want to understand why they do it, and this and they tell me, oh, well, what's the purpose of that? And I was like,
It's so hard, but this is something this is
and I
our
think
fault
that,
as well in the academic world.
yes, it is,
We
it is,
should practice more how to communicate what we do to a non-scientific audience. We need
yes,
to learn how to say these things in a much more
yes,
simple way
mhm,
that will make everyone else understand, so we can
yes,
explain it and people will realize that this has a value, this is
mhm,
important, and this can, and act also to keep attracting people to do what you like. So you love
yeah,
to do this, and you, if you share your love, the things that you love to do, and you know how to share this information, maybe
mhm,
you will attract more people that want to work with you, want to say it, and it's going to help those ones that might be feeling lost,
mhm,
realizing, oh, this is like this puzzle is interesting, this DNA puzzle is interesting, I would like to at least to give it a go, and maybe they will find that's what they want to do. Just kind of what happened with you in the beginning. Your bachelor degree was traumatizing, your conversation with your professor was not the great, you were feeling down, you didn't know what to do, you thought was not for you, but science is clearly for you,
mhm.
because then you
Yes,
found
exactly.
someone.
Yeah, because I found someone that could help me. Yes, I think money, of course, is an important factor here. And how do you tell the people that you're spending money in something they don't understand? And this is our job here is to try to find ways to tell people that what we do matters, even if you don't see the results in 5 years, in 10 or 15, this will be very important because it will give us new opportunities, new challenges, and whatever we can envision in our future or future science. And this is our job. And we are so like used to talk with peers. It's sometimes so hard to tell someone that doesn't understand nothing about DNA what DNA is. It's so hard.
Or maybe it's because we don't know how to show them that. We just know one
It's
way
very
of explaining it.
exactly. We don't know. I'm a professor, and sometimes I feel that when I'm talking, that my students are not understanding, and I need to go down a
You need
notch.
to
And I
understand.
go down a notch, and they still don't understand. And a new notch, notch. But this is something that I've been working on. But normally, my colleagues cannot do
That's
this.
it's extremely important, first of all, that you read your audience. So you read your
Yeah.
students and you can see like, okay, they are not understanding it. And also see that, okay, they are not understanding because is there is because of them, or is because, or can I do something else, or can I improve my communication skills, can I adapt my way of teaching, and they will start to understand. This is actually very important. I was in one of the podcasts that I did with my supervisors. They were talking about this. We were talking about finding money for academia because they are really good. But one of the things they said is that when the you have a report of your application and it has negative aspects and people didn't understand, just don't try to blame them. Think that maybe is not good, the way that you write it, the way that you apply that your application was not good. There's things to get better.
I agree.
uh,
I agree. My first application here was rejected, and there were not many comments, negative comments, but I knew for sure that the person that read my application didn't understood what I was saying. And of course, my first thing, oh, what a dumb person. But she's not a dumb person. It was my fault.
no.
I didn't explain it very well. And but this is I think it is exactly we went to the point, exactly the point, the right point. So sometimes we
Yes.
need to get
And
out of our shell.
Michael supervisor advice is just use the anger that you feel when you read those comments, or
Yeah.
when you are rejected. Use that anger to be better, to
Yes.
develop your skills. And that's for job applications, that's for project, for money, for the
But
research. That's
you know that this is a job that where our self-esteem is
not
sometimes
good.
not very good, and so
No.
and to be rejected a few times, it's hard. And you need to find, or you, okay, it's really my fault. I'm not good to this. So I
Yeah.
see myself, I see other people around me and myself sometimes.
It's
Our
easy to,
self-esteem is like bombarded many times by
I
this
feel
by this
like
comment.
we were not born for
And
this.
of course it's easier to blame someone that, okay, look, this is so good, how can it be? But
Or we blame the others, or we blame ourselves, and we say that we are not good, we are not born for
yeah,
this.
it's like the extreme opposites, and we need
Extreme opposites.
everything in life is balance, I think.
That's it, Romulo. I completely agree. So I think that now we are reaching kind of the end of this episode. It was interesting to see your, to listen to your career path and see that it was made of up and downs.
Hmm.
Now you are a successful lecturer in Norway, right? You do what you love. You are able. You had this opportunity, but if like 10 years ago you didn't think that this was going to happen in your life, you never imagined that this is going to change, and you will probably 10 years ago you were thinking that I will be in postdoc and more postdoc and more postdoc, giving teaching for free, not having money for research, always trying to apply for money, not knowing like where, or
And try to
being
find
rejected.
solutions anywhere else.
So I think this is what happened to you. Your career path is can be actually very inspiring for many others that want to keep working in academia,
Hmm.
because it's hard. It is, but it's possible,
It's possible.
and things
It is
changes from one
possible.
day to another.
Yes, it is.
How would be your advice for people that have to deal with these negative comments and negativity around? Because as the negativity around and the words that people say, like this is not, you will never do this, this is impossible, how, what would be your advice
And my
for,
advice is always, I feel that sometimes people get so obsessed with their career, they forget they exist as individuals. And it's very important to exist outside your path, your career path, in a way that you need to find balance anyway. So if you have lots of negativity or in your professional life, you need to find somewhere to balance yourself. And that's my advice. People will always have bad things if they want to look at their life in terms of career. Oh, I'm not publishing enough. I'm not getting funding enough. I'm not liked enough. There's lots of things we can look around, but we need to find a way to assert ourselves that we are good enough. And I think our
And focus on what
hobbies
you can control.
and focus in what you can control. And I sometimes we have this people, these colleagues that are obsessed in, oh, I'm never going to be associate professor, I'm never going to be professor, and they are obsessed with that. They are not thinking anything else but that, and that's not healthy at all. So you need to be able to, I know, invest your energy in something that you can control. That's something very useful.
And
Otherwise,
having the hobbies,
we
right?
I
Life is
think
not
hobbies and
just working,
not just
uh,
work,
more than not just work. Yes, not
not
just
just
work.
work. Please enjoy
Yeah,
yourselves somehow.
that's
Otherwise,
also something good to learn with their Norwegian culture, right?
yeah, because
Um,
the Norwegians are very strict in their work habits. So and maybe they frown upon people that, okay, well, you're working late. Why are you working late? So you should enjoy your life, and that's good.
and we
Yeah,
should.
and I'm saying I was never one to be like completely obsessed and working on weekends. I was never like that, even in
No,
Portugal.
that's
I
true.
was never
Yes.
I was never forced to do that, and I never needed it, because one thing very important is to know how to manage your time.
Hmm.
And you can work 12, 13 hours a day, or you need to work 13 hours a day because you don't know how to manage your time. You lose yourself in many things at the same time. So if you structure your day, if you set up tasks, and if you even if you don't complete your tasks, okay, I can do it another day, and try to gain a rhythm, then I think your life gets easier, and you feel like, okay, I'm doing a good job. And if you think like I'm doing a good job, it's a way to put all these negative things behind. Okay, so you need to create like a buffer
Hmm.
between you and the environment outside that always going to think you're trash, and that's the way,
And
I
that's
think.
I agree completely with you. Well, thank you, Romulo. Thank you very much for sharing your journey and for sharing these tips and tricks to help us and help people that want to keep working in academia, and to
Hmm.
inspiring people. And I'm sure you'll still do it in Norway.
I don't
And
know.
to our no, I'm
I
sure you
hope so.
do. It's easy. It's easy to be inspired by you. I was, and that's why I just kept working in molecular biology, and then I did my PhD. So
It's good to
at
hear that
least
that at least someone was
more
positively
than
influenced by
one.
me.
I never.
Okay,
It's
at
more
least one.
than one, but at least me. At least you have me. Yes,
At least
that's
one.
true. Actually, every time I have an issue in the lab working with molecular biology, I just think about you. I have to text Rómulo. This is not working, and I don't know why. Well, thank you very much to our listeners as well for tuning in. Stay curious and keep exploring. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.